we'll get started. My name is Sam Stevens. I'm a manager, software engineering manager at User Testing. User Testing is a software company based out of San Francisco. I work remotely from this room. I've been remote since before the pandemic. Software has always been nice that way. So if you have any questions about how it is to work remotely, especially getting started at a career, please let me know. And so, yeah, this talk, I just gave it a title. It's probably a little misleading. There's not going to be a lot of coding in here necessarily. We couldn't get into it if you want, but it's going to be more general about how to get started in something, in anything you want, getting over that fear of starting out. And at the end, to kind of show the general process for it. And there's a few Easter eggs in here, just one, really. But first, you guys are already fluent in chat, I see. Favorite flavor of ice cream? I'm going to go with butter pecan. Ask me anything. Ask me questions. I have a couple of slides I threw together. If we don't get through it, that's fine. I want to make sure you guys have an opportunity to ask anything you need. I do like video games. I don't know Clint Stevens. I used to play them a lot. I tried to get into building video games in grad school, but I didn't get in. So I pivoted to green technology. My work, I've always been in information technology, started with computer support. Types of video games, usually, well, they don't have this as much as they used to, but I really miss couch games like Halo, where you could just screen watch and cheat, and then you get sniped in someone's face, and then you get up and slowly walk in front of their screen on your way to get pizza. So that way they get really mad at you because they just hit you. What do I do every day in my job? A mixture of managing people and developing software. I work with a team of machine learning engineers, so we do some machine learning and video processing, transcripts, natural language processings, etc. Marvel, DC. I've always been more of a DC fan, although Marvel movies are better. So here we go. Move on to the next question. Next slide. So here you go. Fear of getting started. How many of you have experienced writer's block? Trying to write a paper or draw something in art class, and you can't even think about what to do. Like create a bunch of slides for kids in high school. Is it difficult to work with a team on software? It is difficult to work with a team, period. And it's difficult to work on a team on software. We can talk about team dynamics. That's interesting. Here's some questions about teamwork here. So what did you do to get past the writer's block? Anything. Just bang your head against the wall? Did you just start writing gibberish? You do the whole lorem ipsum. You play a game? Yeah. You cried? Yeah. Go for a walk, maybe. So eventually, I'm sure you got past it. Several different words to make sure. So back to teams. On a similar part, who's on a team or part of a club? Band or sports team or esports or chess club. Class. Your class is a team. Your school classroom is a team. Or if you haven't been part of a club or a team, if you've started something new, like learn to drive if you're old enough, or picked up a new video game, or card games. Go to school, the first day of school. So try to remember that first day. Like, what did it feel like? Were you nervous the night before? What doubts did you have? Were you excited? Correct. That's good. Excited but anxious. Yeah. Right. All common things. Confident. Excellent. So what got you to show up on your first day? What got you through the first day? Who got you through there? Xbox, your phone, friends, thought of going home or getting through it. That's good. Bribery. Okay. How can you make your resume appealing to tech companies? That's a good question. Share your experience is key. Education is important. Experience is key. A lot of times for resumes on tech companies, they even ask for like your GitHub repository or code repositories or portfolio. So I have a link to that. When I look for resumes, I look for something with unique experience, different experience. Software engineering, software development is getting pretty competitive. There's a lot of people wanting to get into it. There's a lot of schools teaching it in high school and college, and a lot of resumes look the same. I was looking for an internship and scrolling through thousands of resumes, and it was like, if I see another computer science major from this school, I'm going to stop, because it's like there's 100 of them. They all look the same. So I look for somebody that has different experience, maybe applying software engineering to a different space, or having projects, startups, and kind of an entrepreneurial side to it. Then where would you recommend going to get certified for various tech-based skills? School is the easy answer. I know there's like Ivy Tech is good. Any of those places with that one. Udemy courses, online courses. I know there's like local tech academies too. Ivy Tech is interesting because it's a good way to start the college experience, get a 2-year degree, and then see how that applies, and then go into like the 4-year university after that. Things that can make your resume stand out. It's hard. If you can showcase a side project that you did on your own that demonstrates a problem that you solved that you felt passionate about, and that I would probably, you'd make it past the interview check, because I want to know more about that project. I mean, that's pretty interesting. What do I actually do in my process engineering job? A lot of it is trying to understand the problem. Military is another good way. I know so I'm jumping around. I know a student who recently joined the Air Force to go into cybersecurity, which is a good way to do. What would be the best area of software development to look into if you'd like to take on a challenge? I would say, well, that leads us to the next question, I guess. What are you passionate about? What are you passionate about? Yeah, we've already been through this. You've already started something. So what is software? We'll break this down. Anybody want to know what is software? And we have a definition. Is the work repetitive? It can be, but not normally. Software is code. I do enjoy my job, very much so. Middleman between user and a computer. Yes, that's a good point. Program that operates a computer, creating programs. Those are all valid. Those are all good examples. Where would I go to code a game? A Unity tutorial, Google tutorial, how to make a game tutorial, how to make a web game tutorial would be a good way to get started. Also find a game that has already been made and someone made a tutorial about it. We'll talk about that as well. I have a weird definition of software. It's a virtual implementation of a solution to a problem. So it's a virtual implementation. That's the code part. It's code. It's all done virtually, as opposed to it's a virtual implementation of a solution to a problem. Software exists in this virtual world. Now Facebook's coined the metaverse, which ruined the word meta for me, but that's a different topic. And it's a solution to a problem, or meeting a need, I should say, meeting a need. So like one example is search. The problem is, how do I search the internet to find something? Okay. The solution, manual solution, and then the Google has the virtual solution of indexing every website and adding a machine learning algorithm to it, AI to it, to interpret the questions that people are asking in the search box and to return results quickly. Yep, we'll get to Q&A, formal Q&A after this. So here's the 3 magical steps that might help answer some of these questions on how to get to the next level, how to break it down. And they're really magical. Step 0, what is the problem or need? It always starts with the problem, in my experience. And who knows why it's step 0? Anybody? Anybody know why it's step 0? Yeah, you do have to have a problem solving. You know where you're going. But why 0 in particular instead of 1? For any of you computer science nerds. First index value, yes. In computer software, we count starting at 0. And usually also it starts before you even get started. Right before you even start, you have a need, a problem to solve. It helps if it's something you're passionate about or interested in. And also when you're learning how to make a video game or start leveling up in something new, it helps to start with a problem that has already been solved. The internet is full of tutorials of people wanting to share their knowledge on how they built a video game, how they made a website, how they created some machine learning algorithm. There's lots of tutorials out there. People have YouTube videos on how to get started. And that helps you kind of get that first step Okay, now you've developed this skill when you practice solving something you've already started. So like when you make a game, find someone who's already implemented a Tetris tutorial or block brick breaker. The next step is ask for help. So who do you ask for help? Or what do you ask for help? Or what questions do you ask once you have a problem? Yes, me. Very good. I think my contact information is at the end of this slide. Peers and teachers. Yep. Google. Someone had to put the what in there. Stack Overflow, yes. Who's heard the joke? I didn't know Stack Overflow had a homepage because you never go there from Reddit. Yeah, there's been a lot more on Reddit now. Mirror on the wall. Discord. Yeah, there's a lot of open source projects that have Discord channels to get information from. So you got to ask for help. You can ask people, you can ask things, you can ask the library, you can read books for help. Didn't know. Yeah, right. Google Stack Overflow's homepage. So you just got to ask for help. Anything and everything. What books do you recommend? Software books are tricky because they're outdated as soon as they're written. But anything on fundamentals of writing software would be a good book. Or problem solving. So those are the easy steps. The next two are when they get really, really difficult and challenging. This is why you need to have something that you're passionate about. So now you got to keep following this path. Who's tried to learn something and realized now they have to learn 6 other things in order to build this video game or change the tire in your car, right? Like so many things, so many questions. Or long division, right? To get to long division, you'd have to learn how to do all the short division first. So what got you through learning all of like those little things? Winging it, that's just trying it. Guessing, passion's good. Food and snacks, that's good. Oh, Hendrix, yes. So I think you might be seeing there's no magic here. It's just practice. It's just practice. It's just practice. So how many hours a day do you practice your craft? Somebody mentioned the flute or sports team, basketball, school, homework, whatever it is, it just takes practice. Rinse and repeat. Especially in software, things change often in software. Personally, I got lucky. I was passionate about building computers and writing software. I had a couple of friends who were into software and we started building websites. I learned from them and that was what I did in my downtime. That was my passion, my hobby. I play video games too, but I ended up spending a lot more time building software, building little websites for people, for clubs. If I was involved with a club that didn't have a website, I'd build it. How do you stay up to date on the latest software and ideas? You practice. You learn something new. Lots of new technology comes out anytime I remember when I started learning, there was no Angular or React yet. It was all HTML and JavaScript. And then I heard someone that Angular came out, so I learned that on like Angular tutorial. Or then React came out, and you learn new technology. And continuing education is a way, reading books. And so this is the software program to practice. How do I do something? What problem? There are yes, lots of things are released. There's a hard, it's hard to keep up, but the fundamentals haven't really changed of software, right? It's functions and if statements and loops and math. That's pretty much all software is. jQuery, I think, yes, is considered a framework. Still used. The syntax in software changes, but the fundamentals of the logic flows in training a computer are, these are pretty much the building blocks of anything else. And when this gets hard is when you have to find problems that you're passionate about to keep going. I think that's my last slide. So here's my contact information. Let me go to the Q&A. Now we got about 13 minutes late. Peanut butter and jelly, I like a mixed. How long have I been doing and learning software development? I started off, I'll call it high school, freshman in high school probably, building websites in PHP with my friends. I had a good friend who was pretty into it. I learned from him. And then ever since then, as a mixture of, I started off making websites, took a couple of C classes in high school and college. I have not learned Rust. That's a good question. And then as it's come out, I've always needed a project to solve. I learned by doing. So I would take, the first thing I did was I built a blog with PHP, MySQL on the Linux LAMP framework. And I built that after I built my computer. And I learned you learn all sorts of things. How to make a web server, how to use Apache, how to use databases, how to create databases, how to write programs. But I needed to have the bigger picture of making a blog. Then I made a web forum, like, newsroom style Reddit forums. How long do I practice? That I would used to spend hours a day, depending on how it goes. For a stint when I was learning about it, it would be like after work or after school, after studying, 3 hours at night, or longer, depending on how long it takes. There's a thing in software called finding the zone, where you don't really realize how long you've been working. You're just in it to solve until you solve the problem. And that is another trick that's good. These are a lot. Superpower, always flying. DC, do I like Sigma? I'm not sure what you mean by Sigma. That is a vague term. What is the best way to make a game? Start with a tutorial on how to make Tetris or Brick Breaker. Make a game that already exists. There's lots of tutorials on how to do that in any framework you want. I've used Unity. Unity is a great framework. You can make web games using like WebGL. But start with copying a tutorial and just practice. Go through this every step. My first job was building computers. I was hired, me and my friends, it was a high school job, and this company had a bunch of old computers that didn't work together. And they told us, make computers that work. out of this room full of computers that don't work. And we'd have to find hard drives that worked, motherboards, CPUs, and Frankenstein all these computers together to make working computers. And we'd learn how to, sometimes you could break hard drives and return them, and they would give you bigger ones because they didn't make small hard drives anymore. It's a fun way to game the system. I don't know if they still do that anymore. I've learned JavaScript, Python. How challenging was it? It was pretty challenging. JavaScript and Python are pretty easy on as far as languages go to learn. JavaScript, Python they're kind of based off of C-ish, so they have similar syntax. Python's a little different than most other languages too, because it's tab delimited, which means they don't have semicolons like Java does, or C++ or C. And yeah, some parts, learning the fundamentals of the language I'm talented in that. It took a lot of practice, went through a lot of tutorials, but once I kind of understood that was easy. The hard part was learning some of the nuances of the logic flows and how I manipulate this data set or display this. Like if you take a blog, how am I going to structure the data and display the data in a way that people can understand this collection of resources? My favorite thing about my job is solving problems with other people. That's yeah. I find that solving the problems are often easier than identifying the problem. You think an hour a day for a year and longer is enough to become good at something? If you did it every day for a year, that would be 365 hours for the year. Depending on your natural inclination to that skill, that might be good enough. Consistency is important. I would pick every day for a year than 300 hours like straight in 1 month. Favorite language? I can only speak English, unfortunately. Computer language, my current go-to is Python. We do a lot of machine learning stuff, which is written in Python. Django framework is a fun little framework to get started to get building databases and web applications. And TypeScript's also pretty nice. But I try to be language agnostic and learn the fundamentals so I can pick up new languages as they come out. What are some good part-time jobs that give you experience for a resume in technology career? IT support. I started in like IT support. Phone support, tech support is good because it helps you just with general problem solving, listening to other people share their problem and learning what the problems are that they're, they say it doesn't work. Okay, what doesn't work? Why doesn't it work? Oftentimes, too, you learn that never underestimate, is it plugged in? I've had that happen one time. I asked this person, is it plugged in? It's not turning on, is it plugged in? Of course it's plugged in. I walked over, looked under the desk. The computer was not plugged in. Yeah. Other part-time gigs would be, if you can't find one, try to follow open source projects and build your own. Internships are a good way too. Next Tech had a good summer program that we did over the summer. If you can get with like a marketing firm sometimes to get web design experience is good too. There's a lot of programming in that. Does this job get harder when you progressively get better at it and becomes more challenging? Yes, because the problems get harder. So when I started off my career, it was I started off with spreadsheets. Like, how do I make this spreadsheet into a web application for like a time system was the first one I made. Time tracking. Everyone filled out a spreadsheet and emailed it to the accountant, the payroll department, and they wanted to make that a website so you can log in and type your hours in and make reports a lot easier. That's pretty straightforward. A lot of my first gigs were doing that. Now, at my current job, we're trying to figure out, we're getting into machine learning, and we're trying to figure out, based on this transcript, is the person happy or sad? What is the topic they're talking about? Are they, when they say this term hamburger, what are they referring to? In food, we refer to hamburgers, right? When you think about hamburger, you think about food. But in the UX design world, hamburger refers to that 3-button hamburger menu that's up on most websites. So how do we change the natural word associations of hamburger away from food and closer to navigation, user experience? We're also getting into computer vision of training a computer to view where someone's clicking to understand website designs and create similar designs. Are these website designs similar to each other? And also trying to understand how people interact with web applications. Are they struggling on this? How do you detect someone struggling? Rage clicks is one way. For making a game, what language would be best? I'd probably start with Unity. I think there's free versions now for school. I'd start with Unity to learn how to make a web game. The tricky part about video games too is the visualization of it. How do you make a side scroller when you don't know how to draw Mario and animate Mario walking? So there it comes down. Well, then you got to pick, do I learn how to do animation with sprites, and maybe you want to do 2D, maybe you want to do 3D, or there's a marketplace. Unity has a marketplace of existing sprites that you can download. Or do you punt that problem and just use a square? It's fine. It's a square. Maybe there's no animation. Let me focus on the game dynamics of making a video game, of just moving this square left to right, jump when I hit spacebar. Okay, solve that problem first. Brick Breaker would be another way to like learn how to make moving side scroller game, because you're moving a horizontal thing from side to side, and then you have a collision with another circle. And then what do you do when it hits the collision? You bounce it and change the trajectory. And so there's some physics involved and some math involved. Sorry for people who don't like math. What do you usually code for specifically? I work in a software as a service company. So it's not, so it's all virtual. So it's like, trying to think of a parallel to it. It's a business system where you log in through a web application. So it's all web-based. We sell software subscription service. A lot of the stuff we do is for supporting that service, business problems, sometimes data analytics. We do a lot of data processing. I'm on the data engineering team. So part of it is, how do we transform terabytes of data, unstructured data, how do we add structure to it, and how do we get analytics off of it so that we can train machines to learn about, to make inferences about it. How to make an operating system out of x86 64 firmware. You can go down that route if you want. That's pretty low level. That gets into that gets very close to the hardware part, where you have to learn how binary arithmetic works and how the transistors save and store memory management, which are pretty abstract problems, but a lot of people have that more inclination. Personally, I don't have that inclination. I need to see it kind of to figure it out. Figma is great. Great for prototyping tools, great for testing your idea out if you have want to mock up a website, or see before you start building something, maybe you just want to see, is this even the right approach? Is someone going to use this? Especially if you want to go into more of the design focused user experience side. Figma is a great way to do that. Any tips on trying to pursue this career? Yes, I would advise it. One of the weed out tests is if you're going to hit a time in this career where you have no idea how to solve a problem, and you're going to have, and no one's going to tell you that there's a problem to solve, and you're going to need to bang your head against the wall for 4 hours with no reward, and you're going to need to get through that period. If you can do that, you're going to do well in almost anything. Also, like any career, networking, talk to people, talk to your friends, talk to your colleagues. This event that you all are participating in is a great way to pursue this career, because you're making lots of contacts. You're getting lots of contact information for people who are obviously willing to help you out, because we're spending this time talking to you.